It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The You Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. You Like.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and it is Friday, and we are running from Central Texas, Waco to be exact. Pete Sousa, Scotty Swingler's over here on the Wheels of Steel. Chris Visser in Central Florida, kicking his feet up, right? Chris Visser, by the way, has got another European vacation coming up. We could talk more about that later. But, you know, the Dutch guy is going back. He's going to his homeland. Our homeland, by the way, Slovakians, baby. Let's go. Big weekend. You got to stop by Slovakians. And honestly, it's the holiday season. So there's no better time to stop by Slovakians and really get in get that vibe going. And you might find yourself coming out of there with some beautiful, useful tchotchkes. Although can tchotchkes even be useful? I don't know, but they got a lot of cool stuff in there. And stop by, say what's up to Ray, have a kolache. Also, Socorro Family Ford, thank you so much. I was listening to Matt Mosley yesterday react to the Mack Rhoades stuff, and that's what we're going to lead with today. But I love the way that Mosley does his thank you for what you do. First National Bank of Central Texas, thank you for what you do. We got to get Dan Ingham back up here. I swear, this Dan Ingham, no. It's the beautiful Liz coming in the middle of the show. What's up, Liz? Sorry. I just love how Mosley does it. He goes through all of his advertisers. Thank you for what you do. I heard from Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, our friend Linda, that we're getting ready to re-up. I love Daniel Stark. The only thing I gleaned from my relationship with Daniel Stark more than anything is I did a commercial for them. And when it comes on the air, I'm like, dude, you're way too skinny. So that helped me kind of hit the weights a little bit. So I don't look like Skeletor over here. Some other big news. Dave Logan's going to join us today to talk to us about, he is the voice of the Denver Broncos. And he had an amazing career. And he had a huge career in the Browns in the 80s, but he also has a real pulse on what's going on out there in Colorado as far as Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. Obviously, he's a Colorado alum, so talk to Dave a little bit about that and his storied career covering John Elway. He is like a Pat Summerall. And on a much lower level of Pete Sousa, where Dave Logan was an exceptional player and analyst, started off his career as an analyst on Broncos broadcast, but he slid over and is now the play-by-play guy. So it'll be a lot of fun. I want to hear about that transition too, especially because I'm in the middle of my Madden and Summerall book. Let's get to the Mack Rhoades stuff to start with. 4-week leave of absence, stepping down from the college football playoff committee. You have to be, I've talked to a bunch of people about this and a bunch of people have asked, just like they're asking Scotty and, hey, what's going on? What do you know? I honestly, there's a lot of information like pouring in. And one of the things I want to touch on, and I spoke about this yesterday, on a show that I did regarding Mack Rhoades. I'll just say it. Cam Lock, our boy Cam from Rogue Media Network. We all know he does his thing at Locked On. So I joined him yesterday. And it was like, it's a difficult situation to break down. But the first thing I really that grabs me is when you consider that this is I can't believe how long it took all of this to bubble up. Like, this is not Washington and Lee. Right? It's Waco, Texas. I get it. But it's Baylor in the Big 12. And I'm surprised, somewhat discouraged almost in like local media coverage that like I do appreciate that you have to get certain sources and hardcore information and facts before you run with the story. But I have to say, like, dyed-in-the-wool journalism is really struggling right now. And this is a great reflection of that. This situation that happened on September 20th around the Arizona State game was bananas. And a lot of people had heard scuttlebutt around it, but I don't know how many people put their nose to the grindstone and really found out what the hell was going on. So then you have national outlets like Outkick. They come into town and just kick your ass. I'm surprised, nobody from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, nobody from the Dallas Morning News, nobody. Like, where are the journalists? Like, seriously. People who would get down and dirty and figure this stuff out. Like, where are you? Seriously. Like, it's not my job to break these stories. But, like, that's a huge story that broke last Friday. And then two questions are asked of Mack at the press conference, or Dave at the Monday availability, because it was a bye the week before. And Dave doesn't say much. And then everybody goes along their merry way. And then we find out that there is, of course, more to the story. And am I being hypocritical? No, I'm not a newsbreaker. That's not what I do. I got out of that business because I hated it and whatever. I love the people I work with, but I just didn't like that. I mean, TV news sucks now. I mean, to be honest with you, that's a whole nother story. But I'm curious, like, that is one thread of this whole conversation and situation that is like grabbing me the most. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, Rick Bradfield was the old news director at KWTX, where I used to work. And if Rick Bradfield, God rest his soul, is gone. He died, I think, 3 years ago. He was the news director at KWTX when everything happened with the Waco siege. Like Rick is just, he was a superstar, was from Denver, fell in love with a woman in Waco when he went to Baylor and really never left. He would joke about it, you know, but like Rick Bradfield, like would have gotten his claws in this story. Like he would have heard about this September 27th or September 24th or whatever, a few days after it happened. And then somebody would have been on it and there would have been more clarity. I feel like I've never seen a whole group of media members covering a program or a situation play catch up so poorly in my life. Truly. I, again, always will pledge allegiance to Baylor. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair if it wasn't for Baylor. And guys like David Kay and Brett Ingram and Chris Humphreys and John Morris, like they kicked off my television, my broadcast career and play-by-play. Josh Young, too, at KWTX, and Bob Walters at KWTX. Like, I'm not here. This isn't like a thank you thing, but like, you know, they were key players. But Baylor had a huge. They were so important to me in my career in broadcasting, and Mack Rhoades included, right? So, I'm not looking for like the downfall of Baylor at all. I hate this situation, but you can't ignore it. And that's the one thing, man. I'll say, like, shame on the local media here. And even like outstretched, even close to DFW and Fort Worth area, like where were you guys on this? Like I've heard so much stuff. And some of it I believe to be is totally legitimate. And, you know, it will surface at some point, but like, you know, there's a lot of people involved, families, you know, the whole deal. Like you don't want to, it's a really unfortunate situation. But so that's the bug up my ass that I wanted to just kind of get out there today. Like I was raised on like good journalism and good reporting. And I think that's part of the reason I'm in this business. Right. Clearly I didn't have the bones to do it to be a beat writer or something like that, like, or to be somebody who breaks news. I wanted to call games. I wanted to react to the breaking news as opposed to breaking it myself. That's the path I've chosen. Right. And that's where I am, but a little help here, guys. A little help, you know. I do know, and this is the last thing I'll say, and I'm not letting like all local media off the hook, but if you're a local media member who covers a team, right, you have to have balls the size of church bells to break a story like this, because the moment that you do, you will find quite possibly an adversary in the subject that you're covering. You know, if you break a story about them, like, and you're there every day. So if you're covering a team every day and something as explosive as this happens, sometimes people shy away from actually being the ones to ask the hard questions and break the stories because it's uncomfortable and because you have to continue to cover this school, these programs, right? So you're careful. That is why, you know, an outlet like Outkick can come into town and kick your ass. But like local news stations, like this is your news to break, right? Like, so what it really is like, I get it. Like Bryce Cherry, like this isn't really his thing to break, but like there's nobody like in this market or the surrounding areas that has the stones to find out what's going on and break it. Or even I'm getting no information from local media outlets. I'm getting none. Like there's not one news station in this goddamn area that covers Baylor that has produced one piece of like looking under a rock what happened in this situation. And that is not a knock specifically on any station in this market. KWTX has been essential to my growth as a person and as a professional. But like that is a reflection on journalism today and where we are. Like it's scary that this story, one of this magnitude, has just been crawling along, right? I feel like Baylor is breaking the news, like because they're like, oh, we have to do something because they're going to do the right thing. So now we move forward. And it's like, how does this situation, which has gone down, what are people saying in the chat, Scotty? I can't see. I don't have my glasses on.
Kevin Fisher says it's why often columnists break the story. and the best writers source / report on it. No one wants to be blacklisted.
Yeah.
And Pete, that's where I would almost say
Kevin's a former PR guy in the NBA.
that's where I would
now with
almost,
women's tennis.
if I can chime in just on what you're saying. And I don't want to make any enemies here in this space either, but my question is, you're talking about television stations. Where's the Waco Trib? Like when you're talking about journalism, and Kevin mentioned columnist, in my opinion, written media is where it's probably safest, best, most appropriate to break something, not our podcast on YouTube, and not, I don't even think like 6 p.m. local news. Like I think it's probably needs to be the Trib.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, what's tough about Waco, like it, love it, leave it, I kind of hate it, is
I love it.
If you don't play ball with Baylor, Baylor doesn't play ball with you. And I think you're right. I think there's some hesitancy to say, well, let's not beat Baylor to break some news here.
Well, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to push back and disagree with you a little bit on that because, and I can use our own, one of our fellows here, Matt Mosley, as an example. Matt covers Baylor, and I watched what you guys did yesterday on the show, and it was awesome.
Thank you.
Matt does not cover Baylor with kid gloves, but he also is a journalist, and he's not looking to play gotcha. Matt has a job to do, and it's report the news. And I think that Matt is a great example of, he still gets along with people at Baylor. Maybe he doesn't have the greatest relationship with certain figures there, but Matt is still a credentialed member of the media, still does his thing at any game he wants to go to. And it's not because, he's fair. So I disagree. Like, I don't think Baylor will not play ball with you if you cover the school and programs fairly.
So let me go back to this then. Back to the Trib. I think part of why Matt has that relationship with Baylor is longevity, right? He's been doing this a very long time. Remember, Mosley's the guy that broke the Baylor basketball scandal over 2 decades ago for Dallas Morning News. So he's got a long established relationship of respect with Baylor that most don't have.
Yeah.
But the same can be said for Bryce Cherry, or just the Trib as an institution.
Well, they lack the horses, though.
Well,
they don't have.
That's my point.
Yeah. No, and that's my point. You and I are on the same page. Like, it's just what has happened, because I can tell you, I haven't worked in TV news like I did. Like, nobody wants to do that anymore because it doesn't pay any money. The job is way too hard. You get, like, we've had my buddy Ali Kadlabar on this show several times.
Ali's great.
Yeah, Ali's the best. Christy Soto, another buddy of mine. These are young women reporters who were on the morning news when I was anchoring. So here I am in this cushy studio anchoring. Let's say it's 30 degrees outside, and there's a homicide in a bad part of Waco, Texas, or Bell County or something. We send these young girls out there by themselves with a camera. They're in the car. They have a tripod. They have to produce everything all alone, and they're going into these scary, dark situations to report on murders by themselves. And oh, by the way, you're going to make $35,000 a year. Like, what? Like, and so this is what we get. Like, this is what we get. And it goes back to, gosh, I'm on a rant now.
Come on.
Like the greed and at the very top of these, like, these major television conglomerates that own, 80 television stations throughout the country. And they're butting right up against the amount of stations they can own legally before it goes too far and the government has to get involved because it's a monopoly. And some people in power are actually working on wiping that out. But it's all about the bottom line, which it is everywhere. But journalism is in big trouble, dude. Journalism is in big trouble. And this situation is a glaring example of that in 2025. A glaring example of that. Now we get to Mack Rhoades, right? There's more will be revealed, I'm sure, in my estimation and judging on people that I've talked to. And I can tell you this, like, this 4-week period is a situation where, legal experts are getting involved and probably figuring out some way to, okay, how are we going to make this work or maybe move on, right? That it's not like, I don't know that, like, because people are, there's a lot of speculation around Mack and what's going on with him internally. Is he okay? I've heard nothing about him going to a place where he would get okay. Maybe that is in the cards, right? Because there's been stuff there. But like, I trust that Baylor's going to do the right thing. This is a really tough job. If you're on the staff at Baylor, it really, really is a tough job. And so I'm thinking about all those folks. I'm calling a Baylor basketball game tonight. They play Tarleton at home. So that's like a home game for me. But the one thing I do want to share on real quick before we get to Dave Logan is when you look at this situation with Mack Rhoades and you look at moving forward, I also have heard that like, folks around the football program are understanding that this actually bodes well for the future of the staff and Dave Aranda. That is the vibe check as it stands right now, that how in the world with so much instability going on at the top, are you going to find a new coach in an environment like this where there's so many openings and so many, hot names will be gone from that coaching market rather quickly. So I think in the immediate future, it probably bodes pretty well for Dave Aranda. And then you also think, hey, one thing that could be possible that we can talk about down the line if it does come to fruition, like how does Dave do without Mack? Like maybe there's a little bit, maybe it's a situation where, he's not under such a microscope and he can coach a little freer. I have no idea, but that's certainly something that crossed my mind. All right, we got Dave Logan coming up next. We'll take a quick break. So pumped to talk to him. I'm one of the guys that remembers his career as a member of the Cleveland Browns, and of course, love his work in Colorado. I lived in Colorado Springs for a little while. I could pick up his radio show. This was like years ago. But I want to talk about the Broncos. I want to talk about Colorado right now. What's going on with Coach Prime? So we'll step aside, take a short break. The Pete Sousa Show's presented by Slovaceks. Dave Logan on the other side.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
All right, the Pete Sousa Show continues right now, and we're going to shoot out to Colorado to talk with Colorado University legend, former Cleveland Browns superstar wide receiver Dave Logan. Let's bring him in. Dave, what's happening?
Pete, how are you?
Oh, hold on. You're can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Let's
there you go. I got you. I got you.
You got me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Loud and clear, man. Thank you so much for starting your day with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I want to begin with something that I bet people don't talk to you about too often anymore. Your career with the Browns. Okay. Like, you were at such an amazing, like, transitional time for that organization, and you guys had such great success. Like, look at that right there. I mean, that is, as a kid, and like, this would end up on my living room table, and I would get goosebumps, because I knew it was time for football season. And it was really special. Sports Illustrated was kind of like the cornerstone. And then you guys, I do want to ask, and this is not like negative, but like, I've always been fascinated. Look at that guy. I mean, it's like Magnum PI.
That's an action shot right there.
But when you guys go play the Raiders in that home game, right, where you guys dropped it to go to the Super Bowl, Sipe throws the pick to Davis.
Yep.
I've watched that game again on YouTube. The electricity in that stadium, it is like, it almost jumps through the screen at me. It was freezing cold. What was that game like, that game day? How cold was it? Can you give me some of your memories of that day?
Sure. Yeah, we in preparation for the game, the weather forecast was less than ideal. And so we knew it was going to be cold. But even playing in Cleveland for a long time, I don't think any of us realized it was going to be that cold. I think the actual temperature was -5 or -6, but the wind chill put it down over -40. So when I came out, one of the memories when I came, we back then we're talking about January of what was that, 1981. So we didn't have a lot of the stuff that some of these dudes have now in terms of being able to prepare for it. So I came out in spikes. I came out in just my normal grass cleats. And the old municipal stadium back in Cleveland, you would come out from underneath. You come out through the baseball dugout because it was a baseball field as well. And I remember coming out on those steps and then kind of trotting out in the field and completely fell down. I mean, it was an ice rink. And I knew right then I didn't have the right cleats. So went back in, put on AstroTurf shoes, thinking that might be the way to go. Those didn't work either. And so fortunately for me, one of the equipment guys had a pair of broom ball shoes, which I'd never heard of. And I think to this day haven't heard of them, but they use them, I guess, to play up in Canada. So I wore broom ball shoes with little suction cups on the bottom of them. But it was, I mean, listen, it was brutal. And it was a game that obviously I will never forget because we were that close to finding a way to win the game, which we had done a lot that year with the Cardiac Kids.
Yes.
But you know what? It just didn't work.
Hey, what was your coach was Sam Rutigliano?
Correct. Correct.
What was he like? He was such a fiery, like Italian dude. He was like, and he's one of those coaches I think people don't remember probably as much as they should, because some of those NFL Films days that I remember, I was like, as a kid, like, who is this guy? He's amazing.
Yeah. Listen, I love Sam. And Sam's still with us, living in Cleveland. But Sam was, to me, the ultimate player's coach. He came in my third year. He called me in the spring. I was back in Denver, and we had a nice conversation, somewhat brief. And he said, "Listen, do you think you're better outside playing a wide receiver, or are you better inside?" I said, "Honestly, I've never played inside. I'll play wherever, but I think I'm better outside." He said, "Okay, we just they were going to draft Ozzie Newsome. They actually that Sam's first year they drafted Ozzie Newsome and Clay Matthews in the first round. That's
Wow.
a pretty good haul." So Ozzie had played wide receiver for Bear Bryant at Alabama, but was a bigger wide receiver, about 6'2", about 230. I played about 6'5" and right about 230 as well. So they put Ozzie at tight end. They moved me to X, and we had a magical kind of 3 or 4 year period where we threw it a lot in an era that teams didn't throw it much. We were the first NFL team, I think, in league history to have all five receivers had more than 50 catches in a single season. So we threw it a lot, again, back at a time that teams normally didn't do that.
Amazing. Just an amazing era of pro football. I get pretty romantic about it. Let's go present day at your alma mater. We're here in the heart of Texas, Big 12 country. A lot going on today from our perspective here by Baylor, but I'm curious about Colorado, Coach Prime. What does that situation look like going forward? And what is your feeling about his future as a head coach of Colorado?
Yeah, I think that's a question, Pete, that a lot of people want an answer to. I really don't know. I think that, when they hired Coach Prime, I was really excited about it. I think that he's done several good things for that program. He brought it back to relevance. I mean, this was, there are some people that maybe don't have long memories or what have you, but they said he put CU football on the map. Listen, CU football had its moments, right? If you look in the early 90s, played for a national championship, won a national championship. Even back in the early part of the 70s, we had guys. I mean, we were 9-2 my senior year. We had 12 guys drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. So we had dudes that could play. But Prime, I think, has done a nice job of making people a couple of years ago aware of the University of Colorado. Now, I don't know in terms of his health. I really don't know what's going to happen. Is he going to stay? Is he going to be forced out? I don't know. It's been kind of a tough year, but I think maybe if there's a silver lining here, to me, it looks like in Juju, it looks like they have found a kid at quarterback that they can build with, that they can recruit to. But it's you and I both know in college football today, it's a different world. You got to, in terms of how you recruit and NIL, and you got to recruit your own roster a lot during the season. It's a tough deal.
It's exhausting to even think about. And yeah, I remember I was a kid growing up watching those Colorado's teams in the 90s. And, I was a huge fan, like all the way back, Chad Brown, Darian Hagan. And so I was even a little offended when they retired the jerseys. And it's like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Like, let's as an alum, how did you feel about some of that new wave stuff? Like, oh, here we are right here. Like we've finally arrived. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think that I think a couple of things. I think Prime has done things differently than we all sit back and say, okay, if I had to do that, is that how I would do it? And I think stylistically, he's gone about it in a different way. That doesn't necessarily mean it's all bad. It doesn't mean it's all good either. I think that, to your point, I think there have been some really good football players come through University of Colorado. And when you start, the only thing that I objected to, I think Travis Hunter, because of him winning the Heisman Trophy, second player in CU history to ever do that, I can see retiring his number. I thought they made a mistake when they retired
Shedeur.
quarterback. Yeah, Shedeur. Right. Now Shedeur was a hell of a player at CU. Did a great job.
So was
But
Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah, I mean you got Darian Hagan's numbers not even retired.
Yeah.
Darian Hagan may be the best option quarterback. All due respect to Oklahoma and Texas back in the day, I don't know if I've ever seen a better option quarterback than Darian Hagan. And go back and look at his record. Yeah, I mean, look at what he accomplished when he was there. He was the quarterback of record on the national championship run. So, other than that, I think people are more old school than not. But what I've tried to do is be open-minded enough that I could step back and say, okay, I probably would have done these things differently, but I'm not the one calling the shots. And can I appreciate maybe what they intended to do in this case? I don't know if Prime's going to stay and come back next year. I think that will largely be determined by his health.
Well, last question on this, just for you as an alum. What did you make of the athletic director? I saw the report yesterday from On3 that he was going to be stepping aside. What's your reaction to that news?
No surprise. I think again, you can look at athletic directors in big time college football programs over the last 25 years, and largely they are judged on two things. I mean there are other athletic programs that also they factor into, but they're judged. Their legacy, to me, is largely based on two things: what kind of football success did they have while they were there, and B, how much money were they able to raise? And I think Rick's heart has always been in Boulder. I mean, he was on Bill McCartney's staff back in the day, and so I know he loves the university and he loves that athletic department, in particular the football program. So there will be people that say, hey, too much instability in the football program, revolving door with head coaches, didn't win enough games, haven't won a bowl game. I get that perspective. I do. But I think when I look at Rick George, I think here's a guy that loved the school and the program and did the best he could with what he had.
Now you're synonymous with the Broncos because of your work with the team for a long time now. I appreciate. I said this before the break. I'm in the middle of reading the Madden and Summerall book, which is awesome. And there aren't too many guys, Dave, who played the game and slid over from analyst to play-by-play, especially on the radio, because that job is not easy. How did you find that transition and what led to it? And because I think it makes for a really, really good play-by-play guy, because I think it's somebody who has the game in his DNA and knows football in his bones. And there's so much self-awareness that you need to be successful in that job.
No, I appreciate that. I do think being a former player certainly gives you a different perspective from the play-by-play seat. I started calling Bronco games in the 1990 season. And as you said, I started as a color analyst. And when I got hired, I was freelancing in TV, working at another radio station. The Broncos play-by-play guy, Bob Martin, who was the guy when I was growing up in Denver, had passed right after the Super Bowl that they played in New Orleans. The Niners beat the Broncos 55-10. And so they were going to slide the color analyst, Larry Zimmer, who was a longtime voice of CU Buffs. They were going to slide him over, and there was an opening with the color analyst role with the Broncos games. And so I took the deal. I did color for 5 years. In '96, they came to me and said, "Listen, we're going to think about sliding you over to the play-by-play role." And honestly, as you said, that just never happened, right? Yeah. So I thought initially they were kidding, and then I realized that they weren't kidding. So I took it just like, honestly, a challenge you would take as an athlete. I took it a little bit like, okay, this is a big opportunity, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that I don't screw this thing up and that I do a good job. I looked at it a little bit like me playing wide receiver in the league. Me and probably Harold Carmichael back in the day were the two biggest wide
Yeah.
receivers. Well, I mean, the prototypical sort of way of looking at that, if you have a guy who's 6'5" and 230 back in the late 70s, that's a receiver, that guy's going to play tight end. I knew I could play wide receiver. And so even though I just took that as a huge challenge to prove, listen, I'm athletic enough. I can play outside in this league. I promise you that. And I looked at the opportunity to do play-by-play the same way. Let's be prepared. Let's learn. Let's listen to other guys, pick up things that sort of fit your style. And I did road games in 96 doing play-by-play and home games in 96 doing color, which was a bit of a challenge. And my first year full-time doing play-by-play for the Broncos was 1997.
What brought that about? The fact that you did it on the road play-by-play and not at home?
It might have been as simple as the powers to be wanted to hear sort of like how I was going to be before they said, yeah, we're going to make you the full-time guy. They never told me that. But looking back at that, I had a different color analyst every single game, which as you know, that can be challenging because you can't develop a real rhythm. So, but that was what they wanted to do, and I was good with it.
It's one of the things, Dave, at ESPN, we're working on like more like symmetry with that or synergy. They are, but we call it like 51st dates a lot of times.
Yes.
Like I'll do a basketball game.
Yes.
I get a different guy almost every time. About your career with the Broncos and the front row seat to John Elway breaking through. And let's put the book up, Scotty. You got a book out on this run. If these walls could talk, and Dave Logan, obviously you can pick it up on Amazon, wherever you can find your books. But like you were around for a historic time in Broncos history where I always, because even as a young fan, I would be like, well, John Elway can't win the big one until he can, right?
Yeah.
Now you're close to him. You're close to that situation. You're a former player. You know he has what it takes. But to see him finally do it, what was that like to be a part of that run? And what did you see change in John Elway once he did win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, you know what? With respect to John, I would say the biggest change that I sort of was aware of was that he had an ability after winning Super Bowl 32 to exhale. I mean, you're talking about, to me, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And as you said, Pete, there were plenty of people that looked at him and said, yeah, I mean, big arm, really good athlete, but can't win the big one. I think if you looked at it critically back in the 80s, the late 80s, when they went to 3 Super Bowls, and even in the 1989 season when they got blown out by the Niners, they're not getting there without John Elway. I mean, that team was not, due respect to the guy I played against, a lot of those dudes, but they were not good enough to win it. They were not good enough to get there had number 7 not been the quarterback. So to your question, when you think about 97 and one quick story, as
Please.
a play-by-play guy, you know this. So we're out in San Diego the week of the game. They're playing the Packers. Packers are like a 13-point favorite, and there's a little bit of the, oh man, are we going to do this again? It's going to be another blowout. What are we doing? And so I do the pregame show with John Elway. I tape it on Friday. It's a 7-minute pregame show. It's going to run before the game. 2 segments, 3.5 minutes each. And he could not have been better. It was the single greatest pregame show that I ever did. He stopped just short of guaranteeing that the Broncos were going to win. And so he gets up and we're sitting in the lobby with drapes around so nobody can see. And he gets up, I say, hey, appreciate it. And he takes off. I'm like, oh my, I said, this is like gold. Do you understand what he just did? So everybody's excited about it. And I look over, the engineer has this very pale look in his face,
no.
and he's messing with buttons, and I'll be brief. And I said, what's up? And he goes, I don't think we got it. I'm like, we didn't get all of it, or we didn't get, he goes, Dave, I don't think we got any of it. I'm like, oh my Lord. So the PD's there, and he goes, Dave, you're going to have to go back in the players lounge and do it again. I said, I'm not doing that. I am absolutely not doing that. Of course, 5 minutes later, I go walking in, hat in hand. I'm like, dude, can you do this again? And
Thank God you're a former player, Dave, because I'm telling you, anybody else would have been like, yeah, that's
you
it,
already
man.
know. You
Yeah.
already know. And he did look at me for about 6 seconds, and he stared like a laser beam through my skull. But he came back and did it again. Maybe not quite as good, but pretty doggone good. So, but I think just to win that game, it was so big for him. It was so big for the organization and fans, Broncos fans everywhere had, they live and die with this team. And for them to have a chance to celebrate a Super Bowl champions, nothing better.
What's been your most memorable moment on like being a part of the Broncos organization and calling Broncos games, if you could whittle it down to one?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if I could get it down to one. We just the radio station and the Broncos did a nice thing. It just celebrated my 600th regular season and postseason game, calling games 600. So I'm proud that I've never missed a game. This is my 36th year calling games. Never missed a game. Close. I'm a high school football coach, and when I missed the Broncos charter, I got to buy a ticket and catch up with the team. And there have been some really close calls, but I've made it. But I would say, the cool thing about this is I've been able to witness the Broncos winning 3 Super Bowls. I've called all 3 of them. Met some great players and people in the organization. And, for a kid who grew up here and followed this team, in mid 60s when I was old enough to go to games, it's like to see kind of what I've seen and have that good a seat. I've been blessed. No question about that.
A couple more for you on present day Broncos. Maybe you'll be calling a 4th Super Bowl soon. I mean, the team is 8-2. And they look great, and Sean Payton is Sean Payton. How important has he been? Well, I shouldn't ask that question because I know how important he is. What has he done to get the culture right there? It's an overused word, but it's true. There's been a major change, just the vibe around the team. How has he instilled a new culture and also a winning brand of football? If there's like 1 or 2 things that he has done where you've been like, oh, okay, this is going to work, and then you saw it work.
Yeah, I would say, and you know this, I think Sean came in with street cred with players.
Yeah.
I mean, 16 years, he's been to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl. And he came in and I think identified 3 or 4 important things in the organization. One, he was going to find guys that love football. And if football wasn't going to be at the top of your list or very close to the top of your list, even if you were a talented guy, you weren't going to be around. If you were not selfless, if you weren't a guy that was good in the locker room, he was going to do his best to run you out of here. We've seen that with a couple of guys over this 3 years. But I think he's just brought stability to the organization. He's brought sort of a winning culture. He's brought a toughness to the team in terms of how he handles the team. And so you look at the job that he's done with a young quarterback. They're still young. They've been really good, Pete, in the draft the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, they've hit on a bunch of guys. So I can see them sustaining this over the next 3 or 4 years, at least while Bo is on a rookie contract, and really making a serious run at this thing.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. You got the huge game against the Chiefs coming up on Sunday. Everybody will be watching. It's just going to be so much fun. People will be listening to you. What's the ceiling for this team this year? Can they win the Super Bowl? Do they have what it takes?
I think they have to play better on offense in order for that to happen. I think if you told me, is this team good enough based on what you saw last week against the Raiders to win a Super Bowl, I would say doubtful, because you have to be able to sustain some drives, stay on the field. You have to be efficient. You don't have to score every drive. But what you can't have is, a punter that leads the league in the number of punts. And you can't have a team that has as many 3 and outs and has some inefficient periods of play in the game. They're good enough, I think, on defense, especially when they get Surtain back. That's a big loss. But I'm anxious to see. To me, this game against Kansas City, I've said it. I call it a Sean Payton game. I want to see what he does, how he creatively comes up with ways to attack this Chiefs defense and get his young quarterback settled in, no matter what that looks like. Get him settled in to where he can be efficient and play, and they can run the ball, because they're going to have to do all those things if they're going to beat Kansas City.
Dave Logan, man, congrats on just an illustrious career, and so thankful you spent some time with us this morning. Really, really appreciate it.
Pete, great to see you, and best of luck to you, and I appreciate you having me on.
You got it, Dave. Thanks, man. There he goes, Dave Logan, man. For me, that's a long time coming because that's a dude I've looked up to for a long time. And for him to chat with us, big shout out and thanks to Chris Visser and of course to Dave Logan for taking the time. We're going to step aside and come back, get you ready for the college football and NFL week, some picks, and then we'll get out of here and let you start your weekend, okay? But we appreciate you being with us. The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics. Back after this.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro. Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. us.muc-off.com.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today.
Stability.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Sousa to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Sousa. That's S-O-U-S-A. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
We'll always have the moment David Pollock got to have a huge laugh at your recording there. We'll always have that.
Oh man, Pete. All right, college football tomorrow.
Yeah.
Been showing everybody these picks for a couple days, but just one more time, if you want an opportunity to play along with Scotty on Underdog, these are my college football picks. Pete, I feel like I say this every week. I really don't think I felt better about a ticket this college football season than what I've got right here.
By the way, if you're starting to talk about gambling and your bets as tickets, you're starting to drift into like the zone of like. Wait till you see this ticket. It's like, bro, what did you go to the racetrack earlier today?
We're not allowed to say that this is gambling.
Okay.
You're blowing it here.
Scotty, your mic's out. Your mic's out. Which, by the way, Scotty was correcting me.
This is gonna kick over another microphone.
Visser and I are texting right now. Visser's the man.
Dude, Visser is the man.
This happens numero 4. This happens every time, dude, because I mute this mic while you're in an interview.
Can I tell you something real quick before you? Well, finish this and I'll tell you because we're in the middle of an ad.
My goodness.
Go ahead.
The Pete Sousa Show. Hey, we're nothing if not authentic. I have never felt better about picks this season than this one. Reuben Owens, my guy, higher than half a rushing and receiving touchdown against South Carolina. He's kind of the lead back for A&M now. A&M on a roll. South Carolina, not very good, by the way. We thought they'd be pretty good preseason. They are not. Darian Mensah, Duke's quarterback, quietly one of the better players in college football. They will beat Virginia tomorrow, and I think it's on his arm. Higher than 229.5 passing yards. Wayshawn Parker for Utah has had 2 consecutive games of over 100 yards, and he's playing a bad rush defense in Baylor. Give me him with higher than 55.5. I could not believe that number on Underdog this week. And then Sawyer Robertson, even when Baylor's bad, that dude slings touchdowns. It's just what he does. 4 consecutive weeks of 2 or more for him. Higher than 1.5 passing touchdowns. And again, use that promo code Sousa on Underdog, and you will get a bunch of bonus cash with your first deposit, like I did.
I want to give you just tip the cap to Scotty. So yesterday, I'm taping because we had a little tech issue right there. I'm taping a payoff with Pete, and it's about sobriety and recovery. I had on a woman now that I grew up with, Kelly Croce. Her dad was part owner of the Sixers when they went to the finals, Pat Croce. Kelly's amazing. We may or may not have dated for a little while, like 30 years ago. So there's a connection there. So it was really cool to reconnect with her. And she was like the sunlight of the spirit just shining through her, talking about recovery. Anyways, as we're setting up for that, by the way, that'll be up next week, Monday probably. As we're setting up for that, there was just all kinds of problems. And I was looking at Josh Beard and Mike Hamilton. And this was my fault because I had kind of been oh, can we do it in there? Because obviously Mosley has a show in this studio. But I was looking at the two of them, scramble to fix something as I'm looking at my clock. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'm texting Kelly, hey, hang on, we'll be there. I attribute to you. I don't remember the last time I've had that here on the show where I'm and I'm telling you, a lot of these networks, that is not something that is infrequent. Technical issues with the guest waiting. To me, I always go back to, and we're going to get back to Baylor in a second. I remember when Dave Aranda, I heard him say once, how are things going when they're not going well? And that's a great, just something to bring through life.
And he would know because under his coaching, things are not going well very often.
All right, let me get back to this segment I want to do. Now, I want to ask a question to Baylor
Thank you for the comment.
No, it's for real. Baylor fans. As and this is like, there's no way to find a silver lining on any of this that's going on with Mack Rhoades. But I do want to, I just want to reflect on the work he's done so far at Baylor, because right now, you know, he's embroiled in what you would call a scandal, right? And let's just take a look back at his career at Baylor. And I worked up a timeline here, spent too much time doing this, and I'm sure I've left some stuff off, but you know, so in July of 2016, he gets hired. And when Mack got hired, the university, the athletic department was embroiled in a scandal much greater than this one, right? The sexual assault issues were all over the news, and somebody needed to right the ship. And Mack brought a new era to Baylor, right? And there was institutional stability right after his appointment. And that was coupled with like a competitive ambition, right? And you felt that at Baylor, and you knew that it was going to be a minute, but you felt the tide turning, and it turned rather quickly with Matt Rule. I mean, I was in that stadium for their first game against Liberty, where they lost. And I always find it interesting, like he's a brand new coach taking over. And it was after, you know, Jim Grobe was the 2016 season, right, Scotty? Right.
Correct.
Yeah. So Jim Grobe took over for Art and, you know, did the best he could. But, you know, Matt Rule did a tremendous job as a head coach, and Mack had his fingerprints all over that, right? And then under Mack's direction, you know, you had a national championship on the women's side. Whether you like Kim Mulkey or not, that happened on his watch, right? And so whatever he had to do to keep that running, he ran it to another title, right? And then on the basketball court, 2 years later, you get a national men's basketball title. Again, all under his watch, right? And then in 2021, you capture a Big 12 title. And oh, by the way, I overlooked, you know, Matt Rule and his team playing in the Big 12 title and then playing in the Sugar Bowl. Dave Aranda wins both. I talk about that all the time. I think he also did a very good job of recovering quickly, especially on the football side, when it was very clear that NIL was going to rule the day. And there are still some schools who have not punted on old approaches, and they are way behind the eight ball as far as where the athletic department is. You know, and then you think, and this is what we're in right now, right? Like he gets this big extension from the university, a 10-year extension in 2022, reportedly over $3 million a year, which that's wild, right? I mean, college sports, if you don't think it's a huge business, like, wow. You know, and when you extend your athletic director for a decade, you're definitely saying you believe the next decade of success is coming, right? And so that's why I think this is hard for a lot of us. And you look at his appointment as the college football playoff selection committee chair, and that's a tribute to Baylor. That's a tribute to Mack. And it also gives, you know, hey, this is a local Texas athletic director who has gained major influence across the country. That does not hurt the school. It's really good for the Big 12. And then this whole thing drops. So this isn't a question. This is a statement for me. But Baylor fans, you can ask yourself this, as we are in the middle of a hot mess. There is no getting away from that. And, you know, there are at points in statements made from the university, you know, Mack Rhoades has admitted culpability, but I think it'd be impossible to say that right now he hasn't left this athletic department in a much better position than when he found it. Now, you could say right now, is this situation going to put such a black cloud on his legacy here that it will tarnish everything he's done? I completely disagree with that. I am out on that. I don't think so. I think that the way that the news cycle works and the way that humanity works, unless this is way worse than it is right now, which I said it yesterday, it is a very strange situation. So you could, I mean, Lord knows what's around the next corner. But if everything stays the way it is, I would say that he has certainly left this athletic department in a much better position than when he found it. All right, Swingler, I'm curious to get your take on this. And you don't have to say more than you want to, but you're the perfect person. You're the perfect person to bring into this.
Oh, perfect person.
You are. I mean, because you're a
Man.
talking head
I am.
that has great experience being a loyal Baylor fan.
I've been through the trenches and I've been on the mountaintops with Baylor athletics. This is true. I will always give Mack Rhoades credit for hiring Matt Rule. I think that is arguably the single most or second most important hire in Baylor athletics history, right up there with Kim and Scott Drew. Like, that football program could be perpetual 2 wins again, like it was in the late 90s, early aughts after the Bryles stuff.
By the way, I got to interject one thing.
Yeah, come on.
I left off the fact that he found a way to keep Scott Drew.
So I was going
to
there.
remain as head coach.
That was my next point. The two things.
That's a huge deal.
The 2 things he gets tremendous credit for are Matt Rule, and which I believe, and I know this is a debate, so I don't got to get into it. I believe that Matt Rule hire is why you won that 2021 championship, even though it was Dave Aranda who ultimately coached them there, and he gets credit for that. But yeah, keeping Scott Drew, not only from Kentucky, but the year before, 2 years before, there was rumors about Indiana. I mean, I think and you heard Coach Drew say it yesterday when he was asked about this. He didn't comment much, but he said, Mack and his family are friends, and I'm praying for them. And Scott Drew, he's a friendly guy, but he doesn't say something he doesn't mean.
Oh yeah,
he's not full of crap, right? So when he says they're my friends, like, I believe that. I believe him and Mack Rhoades are good friends, and that's part of why he stayed at Baylor. And so I give Mack tremendous credit for those 2 things. Baylor, in terms of generating revenue, in terms of being a player again on the national stage in college athletics under Mack Rhoades, yes, thumbs up. It is going to be hard, I think, to have. I understand what you're saying about human nature and time, and I think his tenure overall will be looked at as a success. But it does suck, Pete, that
it sucks.
Just about a decade after you had a really, really, really bad kind of scandal on the national news, right?
Yeah.
This isn't that, and I don't want to paint those 2 things as if they're the same, but it had to happen. It had to all come out the year he's on TV, representing the Big 12 and Baylor on the college football playoff as the chair of the committee. That sucks, man. That just sucks, because I said on Mosley's show, if you're living in the Northeast or on the West Coast and you don't really keep up with Baylor athletics, you have no reason to keep up with Big 12 athletics. The last 2 times you've heard about Baylor in the national news, before maybe this week and this coming week, you heard about the scandal in 2015 that came out in 2016, and then you heard about maybe the men's basketball national championship in 21. And now you're hearing about Baylor again in national news, and it's another.
I don't know that you can leapfrog December 4th or 3rd or whatever it was at AT&T Stadium, that amazing play made by McVay.
It was great.
And Dave Aranda's post-game interview on the
I
field.
hope you're
My
right.
brother Kevin called me to be like, this is an amazing moment that's happening right now.
Great.
So on ABC, you win the conference. Let's not just leapfrog every positive thing.
It's unfortunate that a decade later,
it sucks.
So even if the things that come out aren't egregious or terribly offensive, and you and I know enough to know this is not something likely that's going to come back bad on Baylor, on Dr. Livingstone, I think
that's
Baylor as an institution in this case is safe in my opinion. But it still sucks. It still sucks that that's the headline. And if I'm living in New York or Oregon or California.
I'm curious to that point. That's a great point you make. And I was actually going to say the other way. I don't know that people around the country are when they think of Baylor, they think scandal. I do not think that. I don't. I just don't. I think they think of Robert Griffin, and I think that they think of Scott Drew and the national championships. And I do think they think of 2015.
Yeah.
I do think of that.
Yeah.
I think it's surprising. Because you mentioned, Matt Mosley and the 2020, 2002, 2003 scandal.
Yeah, Scotty B chimed in with that in the comments too.
Yeah, I think that people have kind of forgotten about that. That's crazy to say, but I do think we've moved on. And
I hope so.
I think so. I do. I mean, when I first got to Baylor in 2017, Showtime had the documentary about it, and it was a solid documentary. It was really good. But I don't know that I don't know. I think we've moved past it. But then how do you move past a teammate killing another? I don't know. But I don't think that Baylor has that reputation of, when you think of Baylor, it's synonymous with scandal. I don't.
Here's what's really clear. Outside of athletics, I think Baylor's reputation has grown tremendously under Dr. Livingstone.
Yes, sir.
Enrollment, applications, U.S., what's it called? The magazine that does the college rankings.
U.S. News and World Report.
Baylor's constantly ranked in top 10 for freshman experience. Even when I was at Baylor 15 years ago, the amount of kids from Colorado and California who were my friends were tremendous. That's growing. So I think the school is probably okay. I just hate, I don't know. I think that Big 12 championship in 21 that you mentioned and the national title in men's basketball were really healing for a lot of people, to put our best foot forward after what happened in 2016. And now it feels like it's not that we've stepped all the way back there. That would be an over-exaggeration.
No.
But it feels like a giant step back to, all right, well, we can't even have nice things for a decade without. And did you see the tweet with the last 4 athletic directors for Baylor?
No.
In it. The last 4, this is a 4th consecutive athletic director for Baylor that's been let go for not good reasons. And Mack Rhoades has not been let go yet. I should clarify.
Yeah, and
he's on a leave of absence. Anything could happen.
I bring it back to family issues. I'm telling you, you throw all your problems in the middle of the room with everybody else, you'll probably take yours back. And this is to Baylor fans. You're in the Big 12. You got Scott Drew as your head basketball coach. Nikki Collins kicking ass.
Thank goodness.
You're really. I believe that this football program eventually will get it turned around just because of where. And I don't think it's like a rock bottom now by any stretch. They could win 3 straight and finish 8-4 again. I mean, stranger things have happened. Is all I'm saying. There's a game out there on the field at 6:00 on Saturday night. It's going to be on ESPN2, and they're going to play the 13th ranked team in the country. There is a way out of this, and there's certainly a future ahead. But it's dark right now. There's no 2 ways about it. But this is a great school in the Big 12, and Baylor's going to move through this just fine. But right now, it sucks. There's no getting around that. I think that's it for today. So we're going to get on out of here. Remember, the Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics. Thanks so much to Dave Logan and Chris Visser for setting that up.
Great guest next week.
Great guest next week. You want to get into it? Let's get into it.
Hey, why don't you tease it?
All right. Get
everybody to subscribe.
Bob Golick is coming on Monday. Now, do you remember Bob Golick? I do. Bob Golick was a Raider. He was a Brown. He probably played with Dave Logan. I probably missed the boat on that, right? Teeing that up. And then also on Tuesday, we've got Glenn Parker. Glenn Parker, if you want to talk about the Chiefs and Arizona football, we're all over it with him. And we're going to get into some Big 12 talk as well. And then we're waiting on a very big guest on Wednesday. We're waiting on confirmation for that. But subscribe. By the way, I'm going to pat myself on the back, and Scotty too. We had a first segment where we were extremely thoughtful about what's going on with Baylor and how that applies to the local media. I thought that last segment we just did pretty damn good. And Dave Logan, that interview speaks for itself. If you're not telling a friend about this, you're doing them a disservice. You got so many yakety yaks out there talking about stuff they don't know with no experience and no access to real guests. This is a place to go. All right. And we have a good time too.
To quote the great Pat McAfee, be a friend, tell a friend.
Be a friend, tell a friend. The Pete Sousa Show. We'll be back Monday. Thanks, Chris Visser. Thanks, Scotty Swingler. Thanks, Slovacics.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.